Hi, Dolly friends. I'm so happy you're here with me today. Remember poor Beatrice who forgot to put her apron on and went down to the kitchen in her nightcap? Little did she know, she and little mama didn't even have any aprons, so of course I have to make them. In the 1930s, kitchen attire for the head and apron was a little more fancy than we think of today. And my dolls are not servants, they're just household members. So we want them to look as nice as possible. So I'm trying to make a little cap for Beatrice here. I used some cardstock for stability, and I was trying to get the lace to work, but it was just too bulky. So I'm going to do it the easy way and use a nail sticker. I've mentioned before that I have some sewing skills. I can use a sewing machine and I can sew by hand, but what I don't have is any knowledge of construction, so I need a pattern for everything. Plus, I'm lacking experience. I found this pattern online that was for a full-size apron and I just shrunk it down. Boy, it's awfully tiny. Here are the pieces for Beatrice's apron. Not quite sure I know how to put it together. I am so sorry, but I thought I had recorded my fumbling attempt at sewing this. It looks simple enough, right? Well, it wasn't. And I ended up just kind of cheating, putting some floss through the collar. And as much as I wanted to hand sew, I ended up gluing the lace around the waist and the bottom. But she looks okay. I think she looks okay. Maybe I'll try it again sometime. I'm going to try better for little mama's apron. See how simple it is? I should be able to do this. It's going to be 2 layers. I'm using this old curtain that I had at home and some lace that I have. It's probably some lingerie trim. I was looking through my stash to see if I could find a little tie that was vintage. The pink tie belonged to an apron that belonged to my great auntie. It was probably from the 50s. She made it and I decided to use it. It's a little asynchronous, but who cares? Feel free to laugh because I'm laughing at myself. I did baste it around the edges so that I could stay on track. I had to leave a little opening in the top. I don't know if you can see the tiny little opening so I can turn it all out. Oh, I hope I'll be able to do it. It was a little bit loose, so yeah, I decided to go around one more time. And oh, now I'm gonna try to turn it out. I won't show you that part. Well, here are their little aprons. I actually went ahead and sewed on a little pocket in the front of little mama's apron. I hope you can see it there. I think they're in want of some more veggies to cut up. If you didn't see my short video on making the potatoes, I'll link it above. But they want some carrots and other things too. So I did the same thing I did with the potatoes. I just rolled out some air dry clay because that's all I know how to use. And I'm gonna do some little slices too, as you can see there. I took my craft knife and just made the little ridges that you see. And I have this piece of juniper from a juniper bush that I'm gonna use for the tops. So I let it dry. I had made a hole with a needle tool in the tops to try to get that little juniper pieces to stay in, but most of them fell out. I have no idea what kind of color palette to use. Well, I have some idea because carrots are orange, right? I'm starting with this little cream color. I don't know, I feel like the white of the clay is just a little harsh and I just want to tone it down before adding other colors. I did the same thing with my potatoes. I'm trying out this ochre color and I don't really like it, so I think I'm going to use my sienna and orange mixed together, and I kind of watered it down because I want a dark color to get into those little grooves before I put a brighter color on the outside. So I did end up mixing a little more orange and just kind of playing with the colors. In the top part here, you can see the little hole that I had made. I'm using a dark green and some brown to give the little cap top, and I'm just doing another batch here. So I just did small batches and worked at it. had to go back and glue in the pieces of the juniper, and it took, you can see my poor coordination there. Oh, between the eyesight and the coordination. So here's a very close up. They're a little bit dark, and I did go back and add a little more brighter orange and tried to fill in where there were some white gaps there. Little Mama should be doing the washing while Beatrice is cooking, but she's just learning how to boil water right now, so we'll just leave her to that. Beatrice mentioned that it wouldn't be complete without some onions, and I was very hasty in approaching this task because I really didn't think through how to really approach it. I thought maybe a popcorn kernel would be kind of a similar shape, and it's got that little nubby thing on the end, but it was a little bit small. So I'm just playing right now. So these are my first batches of onions, and I'm gonna do the kernels too. So I just took some air dry clay and made a little nubby on the end, and I ended up painting them a yellow color and then using a copper over the top. The metallic gave it a nice sheen like onions have, but fiddling with them, you know, I put too many marks on them. And then to get the little lines, I tried different methods with paint and I could not get them on there. So I'm using my little micro pen here, and you can see I'm putting some little red lines there. Really, it needs a darker color. They are very hard to see, as you can tell, and then trying to get them to go all around. So this is a mixture of clay and popcorn kernels. I mainly used the popcorn kernels. The clay, I only made 3, I think, of them. So I wanted to glue the tops on. Now you've seen onions and they have the little green parts coming out. And a lot of times when I find them, they're all dried up. So I wanted to just make them dry, and I'm just using a little embroidery floss, which I'll kind of fringe up a little more. And I don't show it in this video, but I do end up adding a little bit of dried grass to the bottoms, because you also see that on the bottoms of onions. But you'll see it in the end when I show you the finished product. And both with the carrots and the onions, I put a little Mod Podge over them because they do have a sheen to them that the potatoes don't have. Which in my opinion makes the potatoes much easier to make. Yeah, so I get that these onions are not perfect, but they're my first try, and I had to have something for Beatrice because she was just not gonna have potatoes and carrots without having some onions also. The lengths we go to for our dolls, right? They're starting to look a little more oniony, but I'm gonna cut some of the fringes and I'm going to kind of muss them up a little bit. I'm just using my needle tool here. I told Beatrice the vegetables weren't perfect, but she said vegetables never are and they all cook up the same. She was happy to have what she needed to prepare the meal. Little Mama was happy to prepare a crate of the tiniest vegetables to take to a friend who has the tiniest house. Beatrice has gently reminded me that we'll have to go to the market to get some eggs. They don't have chickens here. If you'd like to see more shenanigans of the goings-on at Whistleby House, Fairies Greet, and Stork's Landing, as well as other dolly escapades, please come back and visit me next time in the doll cupboard.